What is going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here. It's Dean 7904 if you want to get all technical. I mean, it's 4. Nope. Oh, we just blew that one. It's been a while. We were off Monday and Tuesday. It's 5:30 on the East Coast. It's really 5:31, but play along. 5:31 on the East Coast, 2:30 on the West Coast. Wait, you know what? Yeah, 4:30 Tennessee time. Of course, Sandwiches time. Of course, these times are all wrong. Of course, Sandwiches time with the flagship show here at Rotogrinders. It's called Grinderslive. Joining me today for the very last hump day, the very last Wednesday of this regular season for baseball. It's from many things, the Corona Poker Club, which made a comeback last night. We should not delve into that. I don't know why I mentioned that. You know him from crushing over there in YouTube streets. YouTube. Hey, I saw YouTube popping up. You crushed the YouTube, I'm sure. But I was talking about Yahoo. Yahoo, you're pretty much in every single contest. If you guys want to play against Kirk Dees, go over to Yahoo, and he'll probably beat you because he's very good at that. What's up, Kirk Dees? How are things going? Get me out of the sentence. I butchered everything.
Yeah, at least you didn't slip and say you porn streets. You know, like. So.
I don't know what you're doing over there. I can't speak to that.
No, I'm saying it would have been a good time to slip something like that in. I'm doing well. We've got a 14-game slate. We're in the full swing of things to finish up the season here for Sunday and get into this 16-team playoffs. I know you're excited about that. And then we've got my Celtics playing tonight, who finally won for me. Not for me, because actually, if anyone watched last week, I was in a really bad mood because I lost a lot of money on the first two games, and I just didn't have the heart to drive back to New Hampshire for game 3, and of course they won. But still rooting them on, still have a bunch of series bets on them, so hopefully they get it done tonight.
What's the line in that game? I don't know. I assume Boston.
I think they're 3.5.
Yeah, I haven't been like betting the games or whatever. It's kind of sort of following them, it'll be fun. My Miami Heat versus your Boston Celtics. It'll be good times for sure. That's basketball. Tonight we're talking baseball, and like you said, it's different how they're doing the slates on FanDuel. They're kind of chopping it up as far as a 6:00 only slate on FanDuel, and they're going for a night slate. I think it's 8 and 6 how they're splitting it up. Of course, DK. This is why we're early. If you guys aren't aware, we're on early. Of course, Crunch Time will be following us as well, too, taking you guys all the way up to the lock on DK. I'm not sure how far they're going into the lock on FanDuel, the official lock, but I imagine they'll kind of bleed into that as well. That's going to be Cheese is Good. Dave Potts, 2-time millionaire winner. He had an awesome article today, by the way. His millionaire musings are always good, but today was especially good. A lot to write about. If you guys are premium members, you're missing out if you're not checking that out. Joined, of course, by Kevin Roth. As of right now, no weather issues, but if anything pops up, Roth, of course, will be all over it. I believe Tuttle will be doing that show as well. One thing, if there is a weather thing, the roof, I checked the website. Apparently, the roof will be expected to be closed in Arizona tonight, for what it's worth. They're not opening like they had it last night. It'll be closed in Arizona.
Oh, it was so great last night, open.
Yeah, Chalk Kettle Marte. It was a good night for your boy, but I could have used a couple more bats out of Kettle Marte, and Correa. Man, why are the Astros so terrible? Oh, he was so cheap, and it just kind of made things work. But hey, nobody cares about last night. Last night was good. It was perfectly fine, but it's a clean slate. We're starting tonight, and it's like all aces. It's just everybody who's an ace who's pitching tonight. Bauer's going on 3 days rest. We talked about that briefly in the show, and like that's something he wants. He wants to pitch on 3 days rest. I don't know if he's going to be suppressed as far as how many pitches he gets to throw. And you talk about the playoffs. I think it's worth mentioning. It enters the conversation of, motivation is very important this time of year as far as pitchers. How much are managers going to allow their pitchers to go? We saw last night there was some speculation that who knows what's going to happen with Tampa. Tampa's cruising to the playoffs, and God, why am I forgetting the dude's name? The ace for Tampa last night.
Blake Snell. So that was complete speculation. That was like overthinking, people just like reaching, when really the key is to get them ready for the playoffs. So it's like we should expect them to go a little bit longer as opposed to keep holding them back. I mean, maybe like with like Bieber, it might be a little bit different because he's already ramped up. But for guys who haven't been fully ramped up, they're trying to peak. And right before in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's team philosophy, but that's kind of what I expect from Glasnow tonight as well for Tampa. We'll see. And I rostered Snell because I figured at worst he's going to throw like 80 or 85 pitches, and it was a bad slate for pitchers, generally speaking. So I was good with him. And you mentioned Bieber. Talk about motivation. He's going to put the cherry on top of that Cy Young out there in the American League. Currently, the odds for Bieber to win the Cy Young, I couldn't find it. But it took me a while to kind of jump around, and I found it on the interwebs. But actually, Grant hooked me up. I'll give him a shout out if he's listening. I was like, I can't find this in multiple places. The Biebs is currently minus 2,500 to win the Cy Young. So it seems like he's in cruise control. Maeda pitching tonight is 10-1 currently for what it's worth. Maybe if Bieber gets blown up, Maeda, no, it's not happening. It's Beavers. I cannot imagine he does not get it. He's been absolutely unreal this year. Every single start this season, I think he's at least 10 Ks. I'm sorry, at least 8 Ks, 40% K rate. He's just been absolutely insane. In the National League, a couple guys, at least one guy, well, Darvish is like the odds-on favorite at plus 110, DeGrom at plus 150, Nola plus 550, Max Fried pitching tonight at 8-1, which is just a weird name to see. But do you know how many homers Max Fried has given up this year?
Zilch.
The same amount as me and you and Devin and everybody watching. Well, there might be somebody watching that pitches in the majors. That's unlikely. Trevor Bauer is 8-1. So, and I think he also wants to like prove a point that like, hey, maybe we should, because like he's this mad scientist type. He lives by his own sort of creed, and interesting dude. He thinks that it's better for him to pitch on 3 days rest, and he's getting his wish. And I don't know if the thought process is let's just make him happy, or the thought process is maybe if they have to win the game on Sunday, Bauer will be good to go on Sunday, because as of right now, the Reds are, according to the 538 model, currently 72% chance of making the playoffs. So they're not officially in. They need to win games. That was sort of my thought process on that. And of course, if they don't need that game on Sunday, he's good to go for game 1, which is ideal. All right, let's talk about it. As far as the aces taking the bump, the DK prices, the same old, is absolutely ridiculous how cheap some of these studs are. And you get the cheap batters, which we'll talk about as well, too. It's so easy to double barrel. There's multiple options to pick for your barrels as far as Bieber, as far as Bauer, as far as Giolito, Glasnow. We can enter Maeda in the conversation. Even Hendricks is in a great spot. Not that he's like this, classic K guy, but he can go 7 innings and, just absolutely cruise and get that quality start for you. We got to start with Bieber, though, right? Isn't Bieber's the best of the best of the best? I think so.
Yeah, certainly. If you're just looking at this season numbers, I mean, it's not a question about Cy Young, like you were saying before. It's a question on whether he's going to get the MVP or not. So Cy Young is a wrap for this guy. Comes in tonight with a 40.6% K percentage, 2.49 Sierra. I mean, everything is just amazing with this guy. Every metric. We know he can go long. Maybe like he's like the one candidate I was thinking, because the Indians really aren't going to be moving anything. Like they're going to get in, but there's really no position to jockey for here. And, he's been ramped up for so long. Maybe he gets a little bit of a rest on a pitch count, but I doubt it. So that's just kind of overthinking things. But yeah, I mean, he's the clear number one, and you start him in cash, and you go overweight in tournaments.
Yeah, before we fully dive in, I did want to mention we kind of relaunched, though it's always been around. We haven't really been talking about it much. The RG badge program. Our fabulous multitasking producer, D-Train Devin's going to go ahead and drop the link in chat for you guys on YouTube. We mentioned YouTube earlier. We didn't say to like, smash, caress, cuddle with, do whatever you want with that like button. We much appreciate that. You can subscribe as well, too. You get all the football shows that are going down. The Pick Six show is later on today. The Swolecast was earlier today. On Sundays, we have 3 straight hours all the way up to lock with yours truly. Kirk Dees, I believe you have a show, but how much is it podcast only or is it video? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's podcast only this year, but it comes out on at some point on Fridays. It's the Tournament Takes podcast with me, Killer B2482, Brett Hartfield, and Toe Tag and Tambo. And
say that like fast 5 times, because that's a lot going on there.
Toe Tag and Tambo.
Yeah.
Yep. And then and also do a Yahoo Plays article on Fridays.
All right. And I didn't finish my thought as far as the RG badge program. Finishing the top 10 a certain contest with the RG badge. And I believe you get 1 month free of RG premium. Don't hold me to that. I think it's 1 month. Certainly some sort of distance. And we also, at the very least, and there's some added value to this, Kirk Dees, you get a shout out in the show. If you guys, yeah, there you go. That's worth something. We had a couple people sign up, so we want to give them the old shout out. A dingler, Jay Walken. And then there's, of course, John Austin 22. So there you go. And you can get your own shout out. That again,
I was thinking that maybe RG should sign up for Cameo. That you should be a Cameo guy. And,
what would people want me to say for Cameo? I can't. What would be?
Let's get technical. Let's get technical or something.
I did. Fun fact. I was walking somewhere. I can't remember what I was at. I was at a sport. I think I was at a sporting event. No, I was at a restaurant. And remember that we used to do that? Well, some people still do. But I was at a restaurant and somebody stopped me and said, "You're that guy." And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Hey, film this, record this thing for me and ask me to say like some kind of getting all technical. So like, yeah, I did it once. It wasn't a cameo per se. I didn't charge anybody. Like, I'm not a diva, but
there's a market. There's a market there. It sounds like.
Yeah, for one person, and it's been filled. It already happened. Like, what can I possibly charge for that? Like, I can't even imagine. It'd be ridiculous. Nobody wants that. All right. And sharp side. Let's mention the sharp side. You got a winner for the people. I am going streaking. I have 7 winners in a row, which means I'm getting 10 FanDuel dollars added to my account. Just as long as I keep picking some winners, minus 140 or less. You can't pick the absolutely egregious big time favorites. Give me your winner today. I didn't like anybody minus 140 or less. I'm nervous because I don't want to lose my streak.
You can't be nervous. Scared money doesn't make money, Dean. But my bet it's actually the number. I even have it like a little bit off, but I'm going with probably contrary to popular opinion. I know some people might think that Trevor Bauer, they have incentive to make Trevor Bauer pitch on a lower pitch count tonight. I think that's completely wrong. I think Bauer goes lights out all night tonight. That 120 pitches is nothing to this guy. And he can do it again on Sunday if need be. He's already been quoted as, this is the optimal way for him to perform. Here, I'll read it. That he's been lobbying to pitch every 4th day for a long time. Collects close to 50 metrics on himself every single day, and they all point to this being the most optimal way to get my body prepared to pitch, is what he says. So long story short is this guy has the data to prove it. He's ready to go. He's convinced his team he's ready to go, and now he's got the great matchup against Milwaukee. And although he gave up some homers the last time they faced, but I'm taking the over on the K prop here at 7.5 Ks.
Yeah, the only thing that's going to hold him back, I think, is Bell as manager. But I'll take the over on 95 pitches. I don't think it's the 115 or 120, but I think he throws at least 100. And like you said, the matchup against Milwaukee is pristine from a K perspective. Hura striking out 91.9%, 31.9%, 38% for Nottingham, 27% for the Jerk Store. Vogelbach, I know he's got some power, but he strikes out plenty as well too. Collectively, we're looking at 24%, and it's front loaded as far as the K guys. The guys that don't strike out, Arcia and Sogard, are in the back of the lineup. So, yeah, you got to feel good about Bauer. I'm okay with him as an SB2 on DK for double barreling, even for cash. I'm good with Bieber and Bauer like right out the gate, and it's it seems like that should be hard to make work, 3.7K, but it really is not. It's not that difficult. Let's kind of work our way down. What are your thoughts as far as Giolito? He's next up when it comes to the asking price, and he's more of a tournament bucket player for me, but certainly he has the upside. He's shown it before. What are you doing with Lucas?
Yeah, he's in play too. Should get a nice little pitching duel with Bieber and Giolito, and he comes in with his 32% K percentage, a 3.57 Sierra, and the walks are a little high with him from time to time, but when he's on, and he flashes that immense upside too. So I think he's a solid play. You get a little bit of a discount, at least to Bieber, but he's someone that can go toe to toe with him. So those 3 guys are the clear SP1 consideration for me: Bieber, Bauer, and Giolito. And then we got to talk Kenta Maeda just for a little bit lower, just because of matchup.
Yeah, for me, Giolito's just not gonna make my cash team. At least I'm not planning on it, but for sure for tournaments, no issue with that. And I'm willing to, if I think I'm improving my bats fairly significantly, step down to a guy like Maeda, like you talked about, as playing as an SB2 in my cash lineup. It does subdue your upside because he's only going to go so far into the game. I believe Minnesota's wrapped up as far as getting in the playoffs, but the matchup is obviously pristine. It's beautiful here against the Detroit team. But if you fire up the plate IQ, and I'm sure Devin's going to be all with us, he's going to show you guys what's going on here. Maeda, the last 2 seasons against this Detroit team, it's dummy proof, Kirk Dees. Red is bad and different shades of red. Pink is bad too, and green is good. Now, I'm not sure if you're looking at it right now, but just see anything positive for any hitter. Is there any green for the hitters when it comes to ISO, WOBA, strikeout percentage, walk percentage? The only green we're seeing is for Goodrum and Candelario. They're pretty good at taking walks. Besides that, it's an absolutely horrendous lineup. The tricky part is Maeda's not going to go beyond 6 unless he's absolutely cruising. He's an old dude, and they're playing for the playoffs, obviously, but from a run prevention perspective, from a quality start perspective, assuming they give him 6 innings, Maeda feels super, super safe.
Yep, and he's pitched incredibly this season, and like you said, he's even in the running for Cy Young. So, he's got a 31% K percentage. His walks have been great. 3 Sierra, that's incredible against this anemic Tigers team that strikes out all the time. So, yeah, this is a great spot for him. So, I mean, you got to feel really confident in your Bieber Maeda lineups, at least for like cash games. But if you want to try to get a little extra upside, maybe I love Bauer and Giolito's right there. And then we got Mr. Tyler Glass now from a K percentage, at least.
We have Eric Johnson in the chat saying, talk about Greinke. And like, he's just not, there's no chance I'm playing Greinke. He could be perfectly fine. Like, he probably will be perfectly fine, but not a monster K upside. The Astros essentially already locked into the playoffs. They're currently at a 99% chance of greater as far as making the playoffs. We don't see him get pushed often. We notice he doesn't have a big K rate. And he's the same price as all these guys we love. Like, he's perfectly fine, but I don't see any. What world are we living in where Greinke outscores all these guys?
We can get Greinke for $1,100 cheaper in Kyle Hendricks.
Yeah,
is the way.
And Hendricks is better. I think Hendricks gets some more raw points personally.
Yep.
So I'm not playing Greinke.
Yeah, I've got no interest in Greinke. I mean, can he throw up a good start? Yeah, absolutely. It's sure. Seattle, right? Like, of course that can happen, and then we can look bad. But I mean, it's just the numbers all point to Kyle Hendricks in this spot versus Greinke.
Well, it's not that he's going to be bad. I don't think he's going to be bad. I just think that Bieber, Bauer, Giolito, Glasnow, Maeda, all basically the same price. Hendricks are going to be better or basically the same. Maybe one guy isn't. I don't know which one it is, but 2 of those guys are going to outscore him by at least 5. That's sort of where I'm at on that. Before we move, let's talk about Glasnow. You're kind of getting into Glasnow, and Glasnow's another interesting case. He's on the Tampa team. He's got a young arm. It's electric for sure. He can get wild at times, obviously, but the K rate is super. Glasnow's K rate in the season. We talk about Bieber at 40.6%. Glasnow's second best on the slate, 38.4%, which is pretty awesome. The tricky part with him is, again, 3.68 walks per 9, which is not ideal. Tournaments only, right? He's doing tournament bucket, but he's a guy that could go 6 and strike out 12.
Yeah, tournaments only. However, he's on the other sites that are a little bit later. He's certainly in play. Correct? He goes after 7 o'clock, right? He goes at 7.
You're talking about Glasnow?
Yeah.
That Tampa Bay game goes at 7:10. It's on the FanDuel main slate.
Yep, exactly. So I mean, he's certainly in play because we don't have Bieber on the other sites. So like for Yahoo, for instance, someone I'm definitely considering tonight. But it's just all about the strikeouts with him. I think we got a taste yesterday of them letting Snell rip when people were speculating not. I mean, they want these guys to get ready for the playoffs, and this is one of their key arms. So all things go well, he should be able to expect an increase in pitch count, and hopefully he racks up Ks. And there are Ks in that lineup. He's certainly, Conforto Ks, JD Davis Ks, Dominic Smith Ks, Pete Alonso certainly Ks with the best of them. Now there's some risk there from like power standpoint and some annoying bats for sure with like Nimmo at the top. And I'd say
Conforto's back as well.
Yeah. I mean, he's a risk. It's a somewhat dangerous spot, but it's also a good park. So I have complete confidence in him tonight.
Yeah, if nothing else, I like him for tournaments. I think he's a really interesting pivot off of all the big arms we're talking about. He's right in the conversation as far as potential ceiling. We talked about this pre-show. Michael Wacha went on a whole rant about how is Michael Wacha 9.2K and DK? Like, how does this happen? I can't imagine Michael Wacha being rostered by anybody unless it's like a misclick. Ridiculous. Max Fried against Miami. The tricky part with him, of course, Atlanta is, I believe, they're locked in. Yeah, they're locked into the playoffs. He doesn't go particularly deep. He doesn't, his ERA 1.96 has not allowed a home run at all season long. But the tricky part with him is his K rate's not great. I mean, it's fine, but in comparison to the field, 22.9% is hard to cut. And he's also probably not going to go beyond 6. They're not going to push him too far. If you look at his pitches allowed, 80, 90, 93, 97, 91. Yeah, I mean, and again, this game doesn't matter. Just want to kind of sort of keep him going, get him ready for the playoffs, but no reason to push him too hard, and they haven't pushed him hard all season long. He's perfectly fine. He's in that same bucket as Greinke for me. He's okay, but I don't think I'm using him.
Yeah, I might prefer him a little bit to Greinke, to be honest. So I might take an optimistic approach and think that they try to ramp him up just a little bit more here. And it's an efficient game against the Marlins, certainly within the realm of possibilities and range of outcomes. So I don't mind him, but again, I'm just chasing strikeouts, man, and that's not the way.
So if you are chasing strikeouts, you see a couple names being thrown out in chat, and again, it's really tempting to just double barrel on DK and just call it a day because you can figure it out so easily with the bats. It's not hard to make it work. But there are some guys that are a little bit cheaper, like Zach Eflin against his Washington team. Nice ballpark to pitch in. I'm not sure if y'all saw this. We kind of talked about a pre-show. Trey Turner's been scratched for Washington. That Washington lineup is just not very good. We're talking about, Soto, sure. But otherwise, there's not much else in that lineup. Who is Michael A. Taylor is, multiple Ks waiting to happen. Yadiel Hernandez. I'm not sure if I know who that is. Maybe a cup of coffee. Is he a new guy? I'm not really sure. As Drew Cabrera is a professional hitter, we can say that. But it's Soto and just a bunch of dudes. And Eflin, this season long, as far as Eflin, he's 29.6% K rate. That's pretty positive. The walks are pretty good as well too. As far as the step downs, he's probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite. Hemini Evaldi, I think the interesting conversation if you want to step down. What say you as far as the mid-tier pitchers? I guess you can throw Tanaka in that conversation if you want to as well.
Yeah, I like Eflin tonight. Like you said, I like the matchup. I like the fact that Trey Turner's out. I like what I've seen out of this guy. So he's embraced analytics this year, and that which is like a first kind of for Philly, maybe potentially, or at least good analytics. And they cut out the like four-seamer heavy like pitch repertoire with this guy. They've been using his sinker a ton, which he's been getting a ton of swings and misses on, and it's actually performed extremely well this season. And it's been set up by a much better curveball that he has this season. So, I mean, it took a while for me to like get on, but I absolutely ripped into this guy and did like a whole deep dive with him, and I'm totally on board with him. I have been for the last few weeks, and I think everything is completely legitimate. Because I used to just totally think this guy was just a straight loser, is the way I always thought in my head, kind of a Nick Pivetta, if you will, who tempts you but just never does anything good. But no, it's all real, and I like it. So Eovaldi was the next guy you mentioned. Ace of Boston, but not really an ace. Yeah, right. Like it's fine. Orioles, they bring a lot of K upside to the table. Weather's a little nicer here in Boston today, so a little bit warmer than yesterday. But 25% K percentage. I mean, he's pitched well when he's pitched. So
he's been good.
Yeah. So and they'll let him rip for a while. So yeah, I don't mind that there at all. I prefer him to I know people have talked up Carlos Martinez today a little bit. Like there's just some. So I definitely prefer
on FanDuel.
those.
He's interesting just because he's super super cheap, but nowhere else for me. I can't do it.
Yeah, Tanaka, man, I'm kind of torn on. I could see him having a good start, but it's risky with this guy, right? It depends which Tanaka shows up. So I don't mind him, but I prefer the other two over him.
So what I would say about Eovaldi, 2 starts back, he threw 40 pitches when he came back from injury. Then he threw 76 his last time out. He maybe gets up to 85 or 90. Now he's not priced for a guy that's going to throw 100 good pitches. But like we said, he's been good this year, and he's got a good matchup there, firing up a plate IQ as far as his season. Yeah, 25% K rate, 3.4% walk rate, and he's facing a Baltimore lineup that struck out this season against righties collectively 25.9%. So there is some K upside for sure. And he's cheap enough where I think it's, opens up a couple bats for you as well if you guys want to stack an expensive team. The chat was talking about Robbie Ray. I know the rules are you're supposed to play Robbie Ray when he's not popular. Nobody's going to play him, and nobody's going to play him. But he walks way too many dudes, right? The K rate's been good this year, sure, as always. The K rate's pretty good, but the walk rate is egregious. Let me go ahead and pull that up right now as far as the season. It's like 15 or 18 or something like that. It's a big number. It's 18% walk rate, 27% K rate, which is pretty fun. But the other part is he's facing a Yankee team that, yes, there are some strikeouts in that lineup, but it's a really, really patient Yankee lineup. Lots of guys, LeMahieu, 12.5% walks, Stanton, 28% walks. Of course, that's a small sample. 12% for Torres, Hicks for 18, 19 for Urshela, 22 for Sanchez. I can't do it. And it's also a monster opportunity cost. We keep talking about how much we like the pitchers today. And I think the winning lineups today are going to have two really, really good pitchers, or at least one that does fairly well. And like obviously, it opens up some bats or something like that that are expensive but do well. It's all additionally. So Ray's a no-go for me. Do you have any interest in Ray?
I have no interest in Ray. I get it. Like I back this guy a lot, but he's just been awful this season. He's had like one decent start. But like you said, it's the walks, the pitches, the pitch counts that just go insane with him. And he does get an extreme pitcher's ump tonight, so maybe he can.
I did see that.
Yeah, maybe that helps him out a little bit. But this guy's so wild that I don't think it even does help him. And the thing, all I really need to see is the exit velocities that he allows. They're insane. They're through the roof. And this is not a team that you want to be allowing hard exit velocities against. LeMahieu is just a machine. Judge, Stanton, they're all trying to get in playoff form. Voit is an MVP consideration.
He's been great.
Yeah, I mean, just top to bottom, it's just like what does Robbie Ray give up? Home runs, and it's like there's just a home run at every single at bat waiting there. Literally every single at bat. LeMahieu, Judge, Stanton, Voit, Torres, Hicks, Urshela, Sanchez, Frazier. Every single at batter here is a home run candidate.
And they're that smaller ballpark there in Buffalo as well too, which shouldn't help. I'm on the lineup HQ right now. I have the umpire data pulled up, and you mentioned the extreme pitchers umpire, and I just focus on the extremes. We have several extremes. Max Fried and Sixto Sanchez have an extreme pitchers umpire. I like Sixto Sanchez. I think he's a really, really good
I wanted. That was I was been waiting to talk about him.
I don't think I'm playing him today, but I think he's really good, and I'm probably not picking on him. But what are your thoughts?
Totally overlooked today, right? Like he had a bad start, and so people are going to just immediately get off of him. He's cheap, right? He's 7.7K. This dude is completely legit. So his breaking stuff got pounded and he threw too much of it in the last start. But like this, if he goes back to that blazing 100-mile-per-hour heat, then I'm on board again. I mean, this guy has an insane fastball, and so his strikeout numbers are skewed, but because of a poor start, and we don't have much of a sample with him. But like, I absolutely believe in him. He mowed down. I played him the last time against the Braves team. I'll have to pull up how he did. I remember him doing pretty damn well. So they've already seen him, but and then it was just a terrible game for the Marlins last night. But like the last thing they want to do is get into their bullpen. Their bullpen is so atrocious. And there's the beef between the Braves and the Marlins
because they keep hitting Acuna. I think is it Urena that keeps hitting him.
And so like the Braves now just rub that in. They never bench anyone when they just run up the score every single time against the bullpen and they just tee off. So man, I would potentially worry about them throwing Sixto potentially throwing at a Braves tonight with his 100-mile-per-hour heat. I'm just thinking, but I like Sixto. Sixto is like my wild card play. Like if I want to get more bats in on lineups, Sixto is the cheaper guy for me. Could go Evaldi, but I'd prefer Sixto.
Yeah, my rebut is just I don't know how necessary he is, but I get it. I don't know how necessary he is in this slate, just kind of the way the salaries line up. I will say, to speak to the K numbers, he's got a 22% K rate, and again, small samples, like we're talking about 36 innings. But if you're a swinging strike rate truther, you could say that, well, he's got a 22% K rate and a 13.2% swinging strike rate. The swinging strike rate suggests that K rate should be higher. There you go.
Correct.
And like you said, this stuff is electric, when he's unleashing the 100-mile-an-hour fastball. Summarize the arms for us.
Bieber up top in a clear tier of his own, then and Bauer right behind him, especially for GPPs. I'm really on board with Bauer tonight. Giolito and Maeda for the SP2 conversation right there. Hendricks is in play for kind of safety if you need that cheap money. Then the other three guys that I'm interested in is Sixto, Glasnow, and Eovaldi, and that's my complete pool tonight.
Yeah, there's so much good stuff. It's just not necessary to dig into the nonsense. And we did mention Hendricks in passing, but yeah, this Pittsburgh team, I believe they're worst in baseball when it comes to ISO, so they have no power. They're worst in baseball when it comes to WOBA, so they can't generate runs. And they're like fourth or fifth as far as striking out collectively. In this lineup they're rolling out today, against righties is at 27.7%. So they can't hit for power. They can't score runs. They strike out a bunch. Now, of course, Hendricks is not going to strike a bunch of dudes out outside the outlier, Casey had last time or something like that. But he feels like a quality start waiting to happen, locked and loaded. And as for the Marlins, you mentioned the Marlins not wanting to get that bullpen. They're still battling for a playoff spot. They have an 86% chance of making the playoffs for what it's worth. And Alex Young is facing Texas, our chat is saying. And that's happening too. He's not great, but it's a pitcher versus Texas. You can play him.
There's
a lot of good pitchers. He's not good, but he's got a good matchup.
I got a buddy who just wrote me Alex Young, and he said I'd play a dead corpse versus Texas.
Yeah, so. It's not a very good lineup for Texas, obviously. Talk to me about the catchers.
And this lineup is absolutely, I mean, of all lineup, I mean, it's hard for them to ever have a good lineup, but this lineup is, baby. Anderson Tejada, I don't even know who Sherton Apostle is.
He's been playing a few games, but he's new.
I've never even cared to dig into him. But
Tavares has been overmatched so far.
Yeah,
it's not a good Texas lineup.
It's atrocious.
Catcher. Speaking of things that are atrocious, JT Realmuto is a thing. Now the worst pitcher in the slate is probably Fetty, and especially on DK. Not Realmuto, but like this Philadelphia lineup has some really cheap players. Bruce specifically, McCutcheon's pretty cheap, Baum's pretty cheap. So I like that Philadelphia. If you want to stack things up, I don't mind that side. And they're on the roads; they're locked in for those 9 innings. They actually have a team total over 5 today. Talk to me about catcher. I don't know if I can get to Realmuto, but I like Realmuto. And if you can't spend up, who you punt to with?
Yeah, you don't need Realmuto because we've got Wilson Contreras batting third, 4K against home run prone Trevor Williams, who's just been ridiculous from the home run department. Yeah, maybe it will regress, but maybe it won't. The guy's been giving up bombs, right? So that's a spot I like. His price is reasonable. So Contreras pops for me. For tournaments, I'm expecting the Yankees to tee off and have a lot of home runs. So Gary Sanchez down at the bottom of the order, is a home run candidate. I think
he's got to make contact with the ball. But if he makes
contact, I think the last show I said, I think the last show we did, I was like, you were like Sanchez or Higashioka or whatever. And I was like, I want the bombs with Sanchez. And then it was a 3-homer night for,
I luck boxed into Higashioka in my main lineups. It was a good night for me. But go ahead.
Anyways, who else? I mean, Yadier Molina is cheap at 3,500 if you need him. But we can go down further too as well. Carson Kelly at 2,600 against Texas, batting 7th, looks decent to me. Who's I keep playing this guy every space, Luis Terrains, and at 2,800 batting 6th. Just look up his hard contact numbers, and that's all you need to see. I know it's a small sample, but the dude's just been hitting the ball extremely hard and no one plays this guy ever, and he gets a good lineup spot. So he came over from the Padres trade. He's a cheap guy that I like if he gets in there. Man, I don't know. That's all I'm really looking at this point. I mean, I don't care who I play, to be honest with you. Who made the order for the Orioles? Chance Cisco get in there? Let me see.
I believe it's Cisco today. I think it is. I'm scrolling. Yep. Yeah, Cisco 3.2K. I like that. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's nice.
Not the best ballpark in for lefty power for what it's worth, but for singles and doubles. If he can get a double, he's perfectly fine.
If he can just find that pesky pull.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It jets out really fast. Obviously, that ballpark pretty well. All right, first base. We spent way too much time.
Wind's blowing out to right too.
There you go. First base. Baum is a cheapie you could play there. I think it's a little bit more. You can get Belt or Rizzo. They both seem a little bit too cheap, far as I can tell, on DK specifically. And if you want to spend up, Voit is an awesome play. I'm not sure if he's one of my big spends, but in tournaments, of course, great play. And if you don't want to bet against Sixto Sanchez in that bullpen for Miami, you got Fab Five, Freddie Lurkin, and also Gurriel is super cheap at 2.8K if you think the Astros aren't completely horrendous.
You said it. So for me, like the cheap guy, right, that I would be completely comfortable using in my lineups would be Christian Walker at 3,300 with the platoon against Texas at home. So 3,300. I mean, he just has home run upside, so I'm fine with that. Like you already mentioned, Rizzo's in play. Brandon Belt pops like extremely well. The guy is definitely, we've talked about this, but he's definitely back this season. He's been mashing.
Yeah.
Castellani is terrible, and really bad bullpen behind. So I mean, I really like.
I think it's all righties, by the way. I'm fairly certain it's still all righties in that bullpen for Colorado.
Giddy up.
And also San Fran has something to play for. They got a 48% chance of making the playoffs according to the 538 model. So there you go. Yeah, there's plenty of first basemen in play, but those are my favorites. And it sounds like we're basically synchronized. I didn't mention Walker, but yeah, definitely Walker as well too, kind of in between the punts and like the half punts, which is like Rizzo and Bell just seem a little bit too cheap. And Gurriel at 2.8 is certainly interesting. It seems like a spot where spending up will be different. That's kind of the way I'm looking at it. And again, boy, awesome tournament play. Ketel Marte is 2.9K today. That seems way too cheap. There's a lot of goofy prices kind of lurking out there. He's batting second versus Wes Benjamin, who is not somebody that we should be afraid of. Nothing imposing as far as his minor league numbers. He should be going about 5 innings or so today. He was pinch hit for yesterday. I assume it wasn't an injury, just the game was a kind of a blowout. I think that's what was happening there. It was like 7-0 or so in the 7th or 8th. Maybe he's just taking out of the game. Maybe it wasn't a pinch hit. Doesn't matter. Ketel Marte, that's the first place we're stopping, right? If you want to save some salary.
Yep, 2,900, just too cheap. Definitely, he's going to be massive chalk tonight.
Do you embrace? Is it good chalk or is it bad chalk or is it just if you kind of sort of land on it?
He's a good hitter. I mean, he's coming back from a injury a little bit, and but they got to get him going. So. Yeah, I mean, he from a talent perspective, this is very good chalk. I mean, you're getting Ketel Marte at 2,900 in a really solid matchup here. So, yeah, I'm fine just taking an overweight standard and plugging him in. But DJ LeMahieu at the top, is a guy that absolutely could go off for 5,500.
He's gonna walk. Do you want to pay that much for the walk? 2 points?
Well, he might just lead off with a bomb too.
He could do that too, I guess.
So it depends which one you get there. Let's see, who else is there?
So what if I told you Jose Altuve was 3.9K versus a mediocre lefty? In 2018 and 2019, you would have pounds. 2020, he's been putrid. He's not been good. The overall Houston teams are pretty terrible. Margevicius is not bringing anything here. Of course, they're locked in for 9, so a decent shot at 5 ABs. I've been playing some Altuve just because he's been cheap enough, but it's not good. And I was looking at some of his advanced stuff, and it wasn't.
Statcast numbers are horrendous.
Yeah.
I've been on board with the Astros. I've been trying to avoid Altuve as the one guy. I've been Springer. I'm all good with. Bregman, I'm fine with. Altuve is just he's the throwaway if I can. I don't want to play that guy, but I get it. Overall talent is there. It's just crazy. I don't know if it's just regression or if it's because of they're not stealing the
no garbage can.
Yeah, no garbage can. They're not. Also, could be just
no
the
buzzer.
fact that they're not allowed to watch tape in between innings on the pitchers. That's hurt. A lot of people complain about that. But anyways, yeah, I get it. But he's someone I'd like to fade if I can. Solak has some pop. 3,500, good order spot. Terrible team, but he's there. Moustakas is the guy that I think that won't get played, but has monster home run upside here in this spot against Hauser. So he's a guy that I like, and he's just overpriced a bit, but so it'll be tougher with we're prioritizing pitcher tonight because we got these high end arms, but if you can get him in there, definitely could see a home run for him. But, I mean, it's just so easy with Marte's going to hit so many belts.
Yeah, that is kind of sort of tricky, and he makes for an interesting fade if you're looking at it in tournaments. So for your cash game lineup on DK, I think he's going to land there, and I'm pretty sure he's 2.6 on FanDuel as well. Don't quote me on that, but more or less that's what he is. Third base, hot corner, Bregman. Again, against a mediocre lefty, Bregman's 4.4K. That's a really positive price. Donaldson against the lefty as well, too. I'm sorry, it's not against lefty, it's against Mize. But I was just thinking the other day, I know the season's almost over. It's been a short season, but Do you know, as of like 2 days ago, the active roster for Minnesota, the team that hit the most home runs ever in all of baseball last year set the home run record. They were the worst team in all of baseball in isolated power against lefties.
Yeah, which
crazy?
was completely, but it's because of their injuries that they were dealing with.
Yeah, it's part of it.
So now this lineup that they actually rolled out yesterday is definitely much, you have to project it much better than that. Because, but yeah, I saw that too as well. But because they've been without Garver, who's been a lefty manager for a while. Donaldson, lefty. Nelson Cruz has been hobbled. So they're all well. We don't do we have a lineup yet? Let me check.
Yeah, we have a lineup. I think Cruz is still out. Yeah, he's not in the lineup today. He's been nursing an injury, and they're locked in the playoffs. So what's the point? Why push him?
Who needs Cruz when we got Byron Buxton?
Oh man. Oh, but he struck out yesterday with the bases loaded. What have you done for me lately?
I know. He was gonna break the slate. It was the same. This always happened. Whenever I get the leadoff homer, this happened with me with Ian Happ too. When nobody played him, it was a little different last night because Buxton was chalk. But like he gets the leadoff homer, then comes up with the bases loaded, and then whiffs. Because that's such an important at bat. It's the breakaway that you need, in DFS.
Do we like Donaldson? Do we like Baum as a punter for Philly? Devers is a good spend up. Like we talk about LeMahieu, he's available at third base as well too.
Escobar.
Do we think Turner's going to play for the Dodgers? Like the Dodgers are going to be, they're going to be really overly cautious. I imagine they're just on cruise control. They've been on cruise control for a while. He was scratched last night.
I read they were anticipating his return today.
Okay, fair enough. So I think he's interesting if that's the case. I think he's got a better price on FanDuel. DK is $5K. I think he's got a better. I think it's around $3K or so on FanDuel. What else do you have for me at third base that's of note?
Escobar pops for me just because, and he got a better lineup spot now. He's had a rough season. Another guy with a rough season, but had a couple of good whacks yesterday in that game, and he's clean up for 3,600, so it just works against this Benjamin that they're throwing out in that bullpen. So it's like I'm just basically I kind of walk backwards into my lineups. It's like how am I going to get the biggest upside? It's like who are the pitchers to attack, and then who are the bullpens to attack. So I'm trying to like check the boxes, like getting into a bullpen game, and Texas is one of those bullpens, and so I'm fine with there's a lot of upside if they do go off. Yes, the talent overall perspective of Arizona is pretty poor, but they do have a good chance to go off in this game. So the bullpens that I want to attack, the top five, is Seattle, Rockies, Marlins, Giants.
The Phillies have a bad bullpen, but I don't want to play any Nationals. It's my problem.
Yeah, they're just packing it in at this point, it seems. So it's I don't want to play any of them as well.
Jump to shortstop for me. Is there anybody it's the clear-cut play? Because I don't know if there is a clear-cut play at shortstop. It's kind of sort of whatever fits. If I have the salary for Bogarts, I'm happy landing there. Torres as well. I'm good Gleyber. Story is a big spend, but like the guys around him are pretty awful there. Arenado, I assume he's been shut down for the season. Gregorius, I like that Philadelphia side. Philadelphia is still battling for a playoff. Fetty is quite possibly the worst pitcher on the slate. And Fetty has been lucky, too. I was looking at his, kind of digging into his stuff. I think his K rate in the season is like 11.8% K rate, 4.36 ERA, but like the Sierra is at 5.6 because he's got a 243 BABIP and 80.3% lob. So he's been bad, and he should be worse. And the Philadelphia guys are cheap. That's my favorite stack on DK specifically. We haven't talked about stacks so much just yet. We'll talk about that soon enough. Feel free to give your thoughts on Gregorius, any other shortstops. You like the Philadelphia stack?
Yeah, and it's they got to win out. I mean, they got to win all these games to get in the playoffs. They
38% right now.
Yeah, they've really screwed themselves. So they really got to win these games. And Gregorius, absolutely, he has that power against a low K pitcher. Also, who gives up a ton of walks. So Ann has a pretty poor bullpen behind them as well. They've pretty poor 4.82 xFIP on the season. So Philly, I love the Philly stack tonight. Definitely all playable. Gleyber would be my guy. He's starting to starting to get some hits together. Had a 3-hit game in his last one. I liked what I saw when I watched it, that, he had some good at bats, and he's 4,500 and has that monster K upside against Robbie Ray and a pretty bad bullpen behind. And Toronto is they're in the playoffs. I mean, they're going to be in the playoffs, right? Like there's no real...
Toronto is, I think they're official 99. They have a 99% chance.
There's no threats. That it's all locked. The 8 teams. It's just the positioning, but it really makes no difference for them. Xander, upside, man, it's just tough to play. I guess Paul DeYoung would be the guy that I like, 4,200, right below Gleyber Torres. Bring some home run upside to the table. And I would say Mondesi if DK had their same pricing every day like they did and had this guy down at 2,900 or whatever, or 3,800, but he's the only Royal they finally priced up. So I guess it's going to be tough to play him.
We got a few minutes before you step aside and make way for crunch time. You got Cheese is Good, Dave Potts, you got Tuttle, you have Roth, taking you guys all up the lock on DK, and I assume they stick around to talk some FanDuel as well. Hey, smash that like button if you guys are in the YouTube. What's up, YouTube? If you throw out a question, we'll do our best to knock it out. But again, we only have a few minutes before you step aside. We got to talk about some outfielders, talk about some stacks. Outfield is a good place to save some salary. We talk about how the way some of the prices here, DK specifically, Jay Bruce is 2.3K, which seems egregious against Fetty. What you talk about the Royals not being priced up. Soler is still 2.7K, not officially in the lineup, but I assume he will be. That just seems way too cheap. What are you doing in the outfield?
Yeah, you can definitely save some money. So this is the key tonight. We've got a ton of punt plays. So we've got the home run upside of Jay Bruce for 2,300, right, against a low strikeout pitcher, and he's got BVP. Oh. So this is just a lock, right? No, and I think a 6 at bat sample. So it's
come on, what are you doing?
It can't lose. Then you got Cameron Maybin batting 5th against Williams at 2,100.
What? You're not playing Cameron Maybin, are we?
Yeah, I like this guy. I can play him. Speed and pop. He's got some pop. I would prefer him over Andrew Stevenson, even though Stevenson's leading off.
He's got some speed too.
Yeah. But I mean, any of those guys. There's LaCastro, who brings the pinch hit risk to the table.
Yeah.
But the one guy that I want bombs, right? And DJ Stewart hits bombs, and he's still 2,500, and he's in Fenway, and he's against Eovaldi, and the weather's a little bit nicer. So that's the guy that I would like. But like Bruce and Stewart, like you play them both in the outfield, you have really solid home run upside right there with those 2 punts, and you can then now you can fit in your stud pitchers.
So yeah, I would also mention Stanton and Hicks there against Ray. We want to pick on McCutcheon's too cheap leading off on the road, locked in for those 5 ABs, assuming things go fairly well. JD Martinez at 4.1K is pretty reasonable. Talk about those Phillies. I'm willing to spend up on Harper at 5.5K. Kepler has got a really, really good price on FanDuel, a pretty good price on DK, leading off today. Nope, batting second behind Buxton. We got to step aside, but give me a couple of the stacks you like. I know we talked about Philadelphia. I like Philadelphia. You like Philadelphia. Give me a couple off the board or somebody you're kind of honing in on for ownership reasons.
Yankees are the top high-end expensive one if you can get to them. It's and just hope you get home run after home run after home run. Phillies I like a lot. We both said Astros. I like because of the Seattle bullpen. Is not only is Margevicius totally hittable, but their bullpen is just the absolute worst. So you think that these Astros bats are going to get going at some point. So have to consider them. Minnesota, like you said, is cheap. They bring some cheap bombs to the table, right? Rosario and Kepler are just underpriced. Buxton's been crushing the ball, so that's just an easy stack to make. San Francisco Giants would kind of be one that I think will get overlooked that I would hone in on.
Check out those links in chat that Devin's dropping for you guys. The link for the RG badge program. You guys can read about that, how you can get your shout out. You can get 1 month free premium. You can get the $5 off your Core 4 RG Core 4 RG premium. Oh, $5 off the premium.
You're having a show today, huh?
I'm malfunctioning over here. I'm not really sure what's going on. Click the link. You get $5 off your first months of Core 4, which is baseball, football, basketball, and golf. Stay tuned for crunch time. It's Tuttle It's cheese. It's raw. He was Curtis. I was Dean. This was baseball. Go Heat. We're out of here. Holler.
Oh.